Kurt Russell is being rumoured to be playing Jor-El in James Gunn's Superman Legacy. To be clear, I would have no problem with this casting. At the moment, take it with a pinch of salt, but I will repeat, Kurt Russell is rumoured to be playing Jor-El in James Gunn's Superman Legacy. Now, of course, James has worked with Kurt Russell before in Guardians Volume 2. As Ego, the living planet, the father of Peter Quill. He gave a tremendous performance in that movie. I think he would be an absolutely fantastic Jor-El, and I would have no issue whatsoever with Kurt Russell playing this role. It's pretty obvious that James is determined to surround himself with people he trusts. This isn't anything new in Hollywood. Because, there's been a lot said about James, using his brother, but, casting Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, which I think is an outstanding piece of casting, and I think he'll do an excellent job in that role. And, before we move on, I want to talk about Jennifer Holland, the wife of James Gunn. She's taken a lot of shit for being cast as Amelia Harcourt in DC. First in the Suicide Squad, then in Peacemaker. Can one of you honestly comment down below and say Jen is a bad actor? Because let me tell you what I think of Jen. I think she was outstanding in the Suicide Squad, and even better in Peacemaker. She had a proper role in that show. Her chemistry with John Cena, aka Christopher Smith, aka Peacemaker, was fantastic. So at the end of the day, if she did a bad job and he had given his wife the job, I would call the casting out. But she did an outstanding job and he directed her brilliantly. She's clearly a really, really good, solid actor and deserves the role she's got. Now, if she wasn't married to James Gunn, or before that, I think they were engaged or just dating, then clearly she wouldn't have got the role. But people, casting, people and giving people jobs that they're friends with in Hollywood or any big business is as old as the crucifixion of Christ. It's been happening for years. Ron Howard always allows his brother to play a small role in his films. Dick Donner, when, directing Superman the movie, he brought on his close friend Tom Mankiewicz to write that movie. Do you think that was wrong? Wasn't Tom Mankiewicz a great writer? Didn't he do a good job with Superman the movie? But people are calling out James Gunn for enacting something that's been going on for many, many years. Now, I've criticised James Gunn since taking over DC for a great many things in terms of the handling of these DCEU movies, but I'm not going to criticise him for employing his wife or his brother or Nathan Fillion or anyone else he knows. And Kurt Russell is an outstanding actor. He's a legend of the big screen. We all know he would be an outstanding Jor-El. And if you think he wouldn't, give me your reasons in the comments down below. So basically, there's even some updates on the Lantern series, which is going to basically be on Max, which is a series about the Green Lantern Corps. Well, not really the Green Lantern Corps, 2. So basically, it's going to be about how, I think I'm right here. I think this is going to be about Hal Jordan and what's the other guy's name? I forgot the other guy's name. Anyway, basically the two most famous names in the Green Lantern Corps team up in a kind of, True Detective kind of Lanterns TV show. Now, apparently, Tom King, or is it Tom Taylor? I can't remember. Comic Book Legends, which I think is Tom Taylor, will be a producer or even a showrunner on this show, or a co-showrunner or consultant. Now, we already know that these guys have been implemented by James Gunn from the very, very beginning. I've always said since the year dot that I think it's very, very important that we do get more comic book people and writers involved in shaping the future of comic book movies and TV shows. Now, Tom King and Tom Taylor. I think actually both of them will be involved in James Gunn's DC universe. You know, a kind of controversial figures. Not everybody likes them. Everyone accuses them of being woke, this, that, and the other. But here's the thing. You know, I still think it's a good thing rather than a bad thing because, look, whoever you pluck out from the modern comic book industry is going to have the same ideology anyway. So it doesn't matter. But I think you need these people. You need these people's knowledge and ideas at the very least. I don't think it's a bad thing. And clearly James Gunn will be in charge of this universe, so they won't be able to take any liberties. And if you look at James Gunn's 3 Guardians movies, and the Suicide Squad, and Peacemaker, he hasn't really done anything yet you can say, oh, you know, maybe he, you know, what I'm saying is politically. And I mean, James Gunn stands politically in the same side as the rest of Hollywood. But, you know, everyone has the right to have their thoughts and their feelings about politics. I don't care what James Gunn's politics are. I care about what he's going to do with DC Universe, and that's my only interest in James Gunn. And so things are starting to shape up. I do predict that I think we'll have 2 or 3 days of negotiations from SAG-AFTRA and the studios, the streamers, and the TV broadcasters, and I think there will be a deal done with the Actors Union. Then we're going to start getting big Superman Legacy casting news, and I'm counting down the hours, the minutes, the days, because I think we're going to get a lot of exciting casting news that's going to please a lot of people. Don't be surprised if Henry Cavill cameos in this movie. Superman Legacy is a movie where anything can happen. Even an appearance from Idris Elba as Bloodsport. Because that's really what I wanted to talk about in this video. I believe, and I've always believed, that the Suicide Squad movie is James Gunn's kind of origin of the DCU. In a way, I think it is. Now, what he's going to do, he's going to use the Flashpoint film, the Flash movie, as the skeleton of a reset and pick and choose what he resets and keeps what he wants to keep. And I think, obviously, his Suicide Squad characters are going to be part of this new universe. I believe Bloodsport shooting Superman with a kryptonite bullet is something that could happen in Superman Legacy, or something that happened historically. It may be year 1 of Superman's life. Because I must remind you all that James Gunn, when he was fired by Disney and brought on and offered any movie, and he chose Suicide Squad, that he was offered Superman, but he wanted to do the Suicide Squad first. I believe he also agreed to do Superman, or at least write a Superman movie under the Hamada regime after he made the Suicide Squad. And he was introducing Little Freds in the Suicide Squad movie in what he was going to do in the future of his DC. But he was definitely writing a Superman movie under the Hamada regime, even though at the time, during the build-up of the Suicide Squad, he made it sound like he chose the Suicide Squad film over doing or writing a Superman film, and that was going to be it. But straight after the Suicide Squad movie, he was teasing about a secret project, which of course was Superman Legacy, if it even had that title in script form back then. So before he announced he was doing a Superman movie, he was already writing a Superman movie. I'm guessing under the Hamada regime, somebody else was going to direct that movie. Don't be surprised if J.J. Abrams was originally going to direct Superman Legacy. Interesting. But as James became co-CEO of DC Studios and Safran became his partner at DC Studios, Peter and David Zaslav were really adamant that James should direct Superman Legacy, and in the end, that's exactly what happened. So James Gunn has been planning a Superman movie while basically he agreed to make a Superman movie as he was making the Suicide Squad. Why do you think he set up the whole thread of Bloodsport shooting Superman with the kryptonite bullet? It was he was threading through his own little universe, and a Superman movie was going to be a part of it. So You know, it's very, very interesting. He sets up a lot of things, and it's clear he was always planning in introducing Rick Flag Sr., the father of Joe Kinnaman's character, Rick Flag. Now, I think we were all frustrated and upset when Rick was killed off because Joe, I mean, Joe's my bro. I love Joe Kinnaman, and I loved having him part of DC. It was actually a great honour to have Joe as part of the DC universe. Great actor, great lad, says it how it is. Love him, really brilliant, straightforward pro. The kind of pros that I would absolutely love to work with. Not enough people like Joe Kinnaman in the industry. But it's clear there was always a plan. Now, this is interesting because Flashpoint kind of resets the DC universe. I'm going to assume that what will remain canon is Peacemaker murdering Rick Flag. So I think by introducing Rick Flag Sr., I think Rick Flag Sr. will definitely want a word with Peacemaker for what he did to his son. So I think they continue that thread. But there's a deeper question here, of course, because you can bring people back to life via Flashpoint. We know that. Because Barry reset the universe, some people who died in the universe prior to Flashpoint could still be alive. So there's still a chance that Joe Kinnaman could return. Now, I watched James Gunn's DVD or Blu-ray commentary or whatever of the Suicide Squad. He always makes it clear when people say to him, he's not really dead, is he? He goes, look, I showed you his heart. His heart stopped. His heart was pierced. He's definitely dead. Yes, Rick Flag died in that film. But Flashpoint can bring him back. Now, I have no idea if James Gunn would want to go back on what he's done. And if he's got Rick Flag Sr., maybe he won't want to use Rick Flag Jr., although it will be a great kind of reunion. And maybe we'll find out what kind of relationship those two had. Now, if I remember rightly, Rick Flag Sr. is either going to be in the Authority, but I think he at first, basically, whatever actor he's going to choose or has chosen, kind of, he's using his voice talents for Creature Commandos. So I think Rick Flag Sr. is in Creature Commandos, or is it the Authority? I can't remember. Comment down below if you know any different. But yeah, so I think he's definitely going to keep that storyline active of Peacemaker. I think he's not going to reset any of the Suicide Squad things via Flashpoint or what happened in Peacemaker. But, a lot of other things that he didn't do within the DCEU will be reset. It is going to be interesting what he does about the Flash, Aquaman, and all these other DC characters. We know he's going to have his own Superman. He's already cast his own Superman. He's going to cast his own Batman. We do not know for the life of us what's going on with Wonder Woman right now. That is a very interesting situation. Now, Gal Gadot has been assured, according to Gal Gadot, she was assured by Peter Safran and James Gunn that she's part of this world. So that's going to be very interesting what happens with Wonder Woman. And I think these kind of things are going to be, I think we're going to know a lot more, as I say, in about a week's time and going forward from that after, the actors return to work after their important industrial action. So look out for a lot of updates when actors go back to work. Come on, actors, come on, studios and streamers and TV broadcasters, get your acts together. We want to start getting excited about DC Universe. What I do, anyway, I know there's different people watching this channel. Some have a really deep disdain for James Gunn. I get it, but at the end of the day, I'm a DC fan. And I live for DC movies and DC TV shows, and I'm excited. And I will judge the stuff that what James Gunn gives us on its merits. That's how I work. I don't take on kind of cycles of hatred towards people and talk shit just because I don't like them. I have no dislike for James Gunn. He's a talented creative. There's not a comic book movie or TV thing that he's done in terms of Peacemaker that I haven't liked. So that's a good thing, because I was watching the Suicide Squad yesterday and I was thinking, bloody hell, this is a damn good movie. What a shame it failed at the box office, because it's so good. It didn't deserve to fail. It's an outstanding CBM. I still don't agree with a lot of people and a lot of my subscribers that it's the best DC movie ever, but I do really like The Suicide Squad. It's an excellent movie, and Peacemaker is outstanding as well. So James Gunn has proven he can write, he can direct these characters, he can create a great DC universe. Whether he does or not is another situation. So yes, I do believe that The Suicide Squad is the entry point for James Gunn's DC universe. Now, he's given conflicting answers to these questions. I think he sometimes denied that the Suicide Squad will be canon in DC Universe. Look, it's interesting, isn't it? Look, Peacemaker was in the Suicide Squad. So that means, it means that movie is canon to DC Universe, because he's doing a Peacemaker Series 2. He's doing that. And it's all going to be connected, right? I mean, he said himself, if something isn't connected to DCU, then it's DC Elseworlds. So, is he suggesting that the Suicide Squad franchise is now DC Elseworlds? Is Peacemaker? This is something very, very interesting. Is Peacemaker DCU or DC Elseworlds? Well, we have to assume it's DCU. He's confirmed a few names already. One of them, John Cena's Peacemaker, that will be in the DC universe. So clearly, Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad universe he introduced in the Suicide Squad movie, basically, is canon in the DC universe. So I think that's the way he's going with it. As I say, I do believe the Suicide Squad is kind of an entry point for DC universe. And I think it's either in the Suicide Squad or Peacemaker. Someone's watching telly, I think it's Peacemaker, and a chimp on a orangutan or a gorilla has escaped from the zoo. Could that be the origins of the Gorilla Grodd? Who knows? I only just noticed that in my viewings yesterday, because I was both re-watching the Suicide Squad and a lot of Peacemaker yesterday, because I think it's important to watch those shows, because I think you could kind of have a look and be a bit of a Sherlock Holmes and kind of see a few clues of what James Gunn's been planning, because he was going to make a lot of DC content even before he became co-CEO of DC Studios. And that's very, very exciting for me. But so far, I've been very, very happy. Very happy with the casting for Superman Legacy. David Corenswet will be a great Clark Kent, Superman. Rachel Brosnahan, almost forgot your name there, Rachel, but Rachel Brosnahan will be a great Lois Lane. Looking forward to seeing her in action. And, I think the other casting, obviously the Russell Crowe thing is a rumour. We know Nathan Fillion is definitely playing Guy Gardner. I'm really excited that we're getting a Guy Gardner. So already we're getting Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan. I remembered him, Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan, in this kind of True Detective Lanterns Max show. Excited about that. But we're getting a Guy Gardner in the Superman movie, Superman Legacy, as well. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of other DC characters in Superman Legacy. Now, we've discussed this before, where people are not happy that quite a few other DC characters could potentially be in Superman Legacy. There was a kind of a problem like this with the DC animated movie universe, using a couple of DC characters in Superman Man of Tomorrow, which was an animated movie which was supposed to reset the animated universe. Look, I don't mind cameos. I don't mind other appearances if they take their place in the story, but they don't become more central to the central character, which of course in Superman Legacy's case is Superman. James Gunn has promised that Superman and Lois Lane take front and centre in this movie. And I don't think James Gunn is attempting to sideline Superman in his own movie. Listen, James Gunn's record in CBMs and with Peacemaker speak for themselves. And I'm speaking to the people who don't like James, who prominently are Snyder fans and say we're going to boycott all this and we don't like James Gunn, blah, blah, blah. He's this, that and the other. His record speaks for itself. Now, he's never made a $1 billion movie, and that's interesting. That's a bit of a surprise if you ask me, but his record speaks for itself. You know, I think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 made about 700, 800 million. Around the same for Guardians Volume 2. And Guardians Volume 3, which was an outstanding movie, made just over 800 million as well. Now, they're really good, you know, that's really good bang for comic book movies. It's not like, you know, we're not talking Barbie money or Aquaman money, but he's consistent. Here's the truth. A lot of the mainstream audience like James Gunn and like his movies. But there's a difference between liking his movies and listening to him when he says, go and watch these DC movies in terms of the DCEU movies. And they didn't listen to him because the audience are not stupid. And you know, we've got a cost of living crisis right now, so people are not going to spend a fortune going to the cinema to watch shit or pay for streaming services that put out shit. The audience are sending a message to Hollywood. Make good shit and we'll be there. We'll sacrifice an egg. We'll sacrifice a pint of milk or a glass of milk. But we're not going to sacrifice, our luxury goods or, stuff that we need to survive with to go to the cinema to support, an ailing Hollywood system. But I think James Gunn is good for comic book movies. I think James Gunn is good for DC. That's my opinion. Yes, I've tried to explain to some of you slower thinkers out there how I can criticize James Gunn and compliment him on other things as well. It's called a balance. If I think he's done something I don't agree with, I will call James out or Zack Snyder out or anyone in this industry out if I don't agree with them. But then I'll say, well, I like that film they did and I like that they did. That's how life works. You don't criticize someone and say, oh no, I criticized that person once. I can't say a nice thing about them again. That's not how life works. If I argue with someone, it's over, right? Not that I've ever argued with James Gunn, but I'm just giving you an example. And this is what I mean when people call me a flip-flop. I'm not a flip-flop. I'm a well-adjusted, balanced individual. Do you really want me sitting here for 30 minutes every day? I do a video every day for half an hour here on YouTube. Is that all you want me to do? Pretend I hate James Gunn for views and clicks and likes. You know my channel's not successful. I've got about 5 to 10 of you who faithfully come in every day and like my videos, and I appreciate that. But I have to be honest with myself. I fucking love DC. And I want James Gunn to be successful not because I'm a James Gunn fanboy, because I'm not a Zack Snyder fanboy, I'm not any director fanboy. I admire them. I admire what they do and the pressure they must be under and the challenges they must face. Of course I do. But for me, I love films and television, and I love DC live action. Some of it I like more than others. But I'm going to be balanced about James Gunn. I keep on saying this, and it's very important to me that he succeeds. And so I'm actually probably going to be re-binging the Suicide Squad film a lot, because I do feel, and you might want to do this as well, re-watch that a few times, because I really feel a lot of the threads in that film will come to fruition. I'm very excited to see Waller and see what that series takes from the Suicide Squad and especially Peacemaker. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of cameos for people who want to see Peacemaker. Again, I'd love to see Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn as well. It's going to be interesting with Margot. What happens? Will Margot Robbie remain as James Gunn's Harley Quinn? Well, he loved working with her in the Suicide Squad, so I think if it's up to him, I'm assuming she'll stay. Or maybe he's got other ideas. I don't know what's going on there. I really don't. I don't even know if Margot wants to continue playing Harley Quinn. That's an interesting facet of the kind of situation as well. Now, while she was promoting the Suicide Squad, she said she was basically they were going to give Harley a bit of a rest. Then she kind of went back on what she said. So it's interesting. Since James has been there, there's certainly been plans for DC's future. He then became co-CEO of DC Studios. So it will be interesting if his thinking in terms of laying foundations in the Suicide Squad movie for his Superman movie and his other projects in DC, if that thinking has changed since he's become co-CEO of DC Studios. I think even the people who pretend they're not excited about the future of DC Universe are kind of intrigued in what James Gunn will actually do in the end. As am I. I just want to get going now. I want to see how this plays out. I want to live at least till the release day of Superman Legacy. Fingers crossed it doesn't get delayed and it's still 2025. I mean, we're getting a Superman movie. Isn't that exciting? Even without Henry Cavill, even without Zack Snyder, if that really hurts you that that's not happening, right? Doesn't it excite you that we're getting a Superman movie? And it could be great. It could be brilliant. Of course, I have reservations about James Gunn making a Superman movie. But I also, at the same time, look at what he's given us in the comic book movie genre and think, do you know what? He could actually give us a great movie as well. I don't know. That's the beauty of this. With Bryan Singer, as I said in my previous video yesterday, I was so sure it was going to be brilliant because he did X-Men and X-Men 2, which were outstanding movies. And James Gunn's an interesting character. He's a bit of a madman in terms of a creative, but he's a very, let's be clear here, and I say this every time, he's not Scorsese or anything like that, or Tarantino, but he's a very, very talented director, and he's very good at making comic book content, movies, art, whatever you want to call it. He's been reading comic book movies all his life. He grew up on the movies and the television shows, I said this the other day as well, as you and I have. So he is like you, believe it or not, he is a lot like you and I. You may not think that. And he's been talking about, movies being shit for the past 30 years, the deterioration in entertainment. And yes, James has a huge ego. And oh boy, does he like to talk. I mean, I must admit, I do love his commentary on the Suicide Squad because he never stops talking. Normally when directors do it, there's spaces. And I hate that when there's gaps. But he just kept on talking and giving information. And it was very informative. So, yeah, yes, he has got an ego. Sometimes sometimes he does trigger me. Sometimes when he kind of responds to Snyder fans, I think, but then I think, well, hang on a minute. If someone's going to keep on giving it to you, calling you names, accusing you of things that you probably haven't done, in the end, you're going to break a bit in you. You're going to respond. So I get it. So yeah, he definitely has an ego, but he's also a very, very talented man. So I want to see him succeed. I don't want to see another Superman movie that divides DC fans, that divides audiences. I want to see a Superman fan that every one of us can go and freaking well enjoy. I want the reaction to be as it was for Superman the movie. A movie that brought innocence back to Superman. But James Gunn's Superman Legacy is not Superman the movie. I believe he will be very traditional in the way Superman is set out and his story, but you're going to see a lot of other DC characters in this film. By the way, I personally do not think that's a bad thing. That does not bother me at the end of the day. Again, I know it does upset a few people out there and thinks it will take away from a Superman movie, or maybe people are using that as an excuse to bash James over their head. But at the end of the day, James Gunn is writing and directing Superman Legacy. No matter what you do, what you say, it's going to happen. But right now, I'm in the frame of mind where I'm getting excited, where we're going to have this long kind of maybe year and a half build up before we actually see the movie. We're going to be getting casting news, casting rumors. You know, the film magazines will be showing us on-set pictures when we get even closer to the movie. So I'm very, very excited. Bring it on!